Article directories are another way of distributing your content that I'm certain you're familiar with. Most of these directories thrive on the business model of you giving them content and they give you a backlink. So let's talk about how we can use article directories to get our content distributed. First, there are hundreds, probably thousands of article directories, so how do you know which ones are the most effective? I'm going to go over a list for you pretty quickly, and I'm going to give you the information that you need to know about each of the top sites to consider. But first, let's talk about the kind of content that you should use for these sites. Okay, this is Always Be Shipping, and a big part, if not the biggest part of our focus is on creating high quality, engaging content for our readers and for the search engine benefits that we get from that. But I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I send my best stuff to the article directories, because I don't. It would be silly. My best stuff gets published on my site, and that's how you should approach it as well. Leave your best content for your own site. Now, don't get me wrong. My name is still attached to what's going to be submitted to article directories, and it shouldn't be crap by any means for you either. But if it normally takes you an hour to pen a really great article for your blog, then spend half an hour. Spend half that for your article directory submissions. Just doing that as a practice will help you get faster at writing, which you'll benefit from in the long term. And self-imposed deadlines make sure that things don't draw out too long. Now, what each place accepts and what kind of content is best to submit varies from directory to directory. So I'll address that individually as we talk about each article directory. But again, you don't have to slave away at this content. But just like we looked at borrowing content from the article directories, you want to make sure that the content that you submit to the article directories in exchange for a link is good enough to pass the MOM test. Here's a list of the top 50 article directories sorted by traffic or page rank. Right now I have it sorted by page rank. It also tells us if stuff is no follow or not. I don't care about that. No follow isn't really, it doesn't really matter these days. So many sites started using it that it sort of just became a non-issue. So we're not focusing on that, and instead we just focused on page rank. So the list goes through 50 sites, but it isn't really effective time-wise to manually submit content to 50 sites. So we're going to get the most return on the time that we spend here and only submit to the places that make the biggest difference. So I'm going to go over the top 15 with you. Number one in terms of page rank is Technorati. I sometimes can't believe that they're still around. So what you would do at Technorati is create a profile for yourself and then go through the process of claiming your blog. Once you've created a profile, click on your name. Go through the process of claiming your blog so that you can get a link back from them. There's no actual article submission process for Technorati. They just include you in their directory of sorts, and they just sort of include you in their directory when your blog is approved, and then will at times post your most recent posts. So it's still a great place for a link and some social proof, and you don't exactly have to do a lot of work to get in there. You just submit. Next site up is Google Null. Google Null is owned by Google, so it is worthwhile doing, if only for that reason. You go to Google Null signed into your Google account, and then click on Write a Null. You're going to create a new one. Click Create. And then you'll be brought to this page where you can write in your title, subtitle, summary, and then your actual content goes here. You can include links in your content, of course, so that you can link back to your site. So that's the benefit of using Google Null. It's a link back, and it's also because it's owned by Google, and we like to contribute content to anything that Google keeps its eye on. And Google absolutely keeps its eye on its own stuff. Now, number 3 is eHow.com. eHow goes through I don't even know how you add articles to eHow anymore, to be honest. You used to be able to sign up, submit content, anybody could. And then it became that you needed to go through an approval process, and now they don't have anything on their site that says, hey, click here to submit content. So we will skip them. Next we've got Squidoo. Now Squidoo is good because one of the cool things that Squidoo does is it allows you to use your RSS feed to post the most recent content from your site. So what you would do at Squidoo is create a lens. They call the pages that they've got lenses. So I'll just go to one as an example for you. You would post an article onto your lens, and I would just give Squidoo a unique original article for them, absolutely. You can include a link in your article, and I would do that, maybe a link to your homepage, and let's see if this lens uses the RSS widget. I'm not seeing it thus far. Anyway, if you include the RSS widget, then it will also show a list of your most recent posts from your site in that widget. I also recommend that you show maybe 2 or 3 additional widgets, and Squidoo has quite a few to pick from, for it to be of high enough quality that Squidoo won't delete it. We don't want that. Then we've got Examiner.com. Examiner.com is really great for local stuff because it's a locally organized site. So there's a different Examiner.com for all different areas of the country. They do have an approval process to write for them. You click on Become an Examiner, and then there's an application process that you can fill out. You can also find out what different topics they have available, and you can choose to write on one of those topics. So if one of those topics that they have available to write for fits what you would like to write about or what your niche is about, then Examiner.com is a great place to get into. But again, it does require an approval process. However, once you are approved, you can link out from your Examiner.com pieces. I wouldn't abuse that privilege, but you can, and you should, to get the benefit from it. Now, associated content is not allowing just any old content anymore. They used to. There's an approval process, and what you do here is you actually write the article first. It's this Yahoo Contributor Network button here to sign up. You actually write the article first, and then the editors will look at it and either approve it or disapprove it. And this is all the results of Panda, all this stuff that we're seeing with these former article directories that used to accept anything that are no longer doing so. So associated content I probably wouldn't bother with. Suite 101 is the next one on the list. Suite 101 also has an approval process right now. Not something that I would want to go through in my niche, but you can if you want. They do have links in your profile, and I am not certain whether they allow links in the actual articles. Seeking Alpha is in the stock market niche, so if you're in the stock market niche, then check it out. If not, skip it. TheFreeLibrary.com allows you to submit your articles to it. So go down here, submit articles. You need to register, and then you can submit your articles with your link back to the free library. So that's a good resource. Next is Articles Alley. Articles Alley is a very typical article directory. Click on Submit an Article, sign up for an account. Here are the guidelines for the authors. Now they do want original content, and this content must not be on any other website at the time of submission. So it does need to be a piece that you've written specifically for Articles Alley, but they've got good PR and it's worth submitting to. Next one is Kwon Do, which we did see as part of our borrowed content section. And Kwon Do allows you to add intel, they call it, and I'm signed in, which is why I can see this. Once you create an account, you'll be able to see it too. You click on Add Intel, and then you can add your article. You can also add external links. This does need to not have been published anywhere else on the web, so Kwon Do does need a unique original article just for them. But again, because of their page rank, it's worth doing. MagPortal doesn't appear to currently allow submissions, so we'll skip that. EasyArticles, old favorite in the internet marketing niche, right? So I'm signed in, and we can submit a new article. Obviously, you'd need to create an account to do that, and I'm sure that you can follow this submission process fairly easily. It's all very self-explanatory and tells you exactly what they want. So you would submit your article. Your link would go in the author's signature resource box, which you see here, and you would get a link back from EasyArticles. Next, we've got Hubpages. Hubpages is very similar to Squidoo. It's absolutely worth doing. They also have an RSS module that you can include in your hub page, which will show your most recent blog post. So I would follow an almost exact same model as we're doing at Squidoo. Create a unique piece of content for Hubpages on your main keyword, and then use the RSS widget within Hubpages so that you can have your most recent post published on your hub. And then lastly, number 15 is ArticlesBase. And ArticlesBase is a very traditional article directory. They do require, if we go into the editorial guidelines, they want original articles, but they don't say that the articles can't be published elsewhere. So you can use articles that are published elsewhere at ArticlesBase, but they need to be your own original work. You can't use private label rights or anything like that, of course. Now, ArticlesBase and eZine articles, which do not require that your content have never been published anywhere else. One of the things that you can do on those kinds of sites, and also Google Null, is you can publish the article, say an article that you've already actually written for your own site. Now, don't publish an article on your site and then, the same day, the next day, 3 days later, publish it to ArticlesBase or eZine articles. Because we want Google to know that your article was in fact originally published on your site. But it is okay to publish an article that you've already published on your site on these sites maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month after it's originally been published on your own site. That way, by then, Google knows where the content originally came from and there's no confusion there. So if somebody's looking for that article specifically, your site should still come up first. But when you publish them to ArticlesBase or eZine articles and you include a link back to your site, then you get the benefit of that link without having had to write a whole additional piece of content. So that's something else that you can consider when you are publishing for ArticlesBase and eZine articles. So between all of those options, you've got quite a few really great places to submit some content to. And while what you're doing in this particular area of content distribution won't necessarily bring actual human visitors from those sites clicking through to your site, it is still a worthwhile step to take when we're focusing on these really high quality sites as opposed to every single site in the list of 50. It's still worth doing because you're still going to get a link back. And oftentimes, to be completely honest, people steal the content from those sites and it's called scraping. They'll scrape all of the content from those sites, spammers will, so that they can fill their blog with stuff. And most of the time, they don't bother to remove the links. So you can still get a lot of links, not only from the sites themselves, but from people who take the content from them. So again, it's worthwhile doing. Don't focus on the overwhelming big list of 50. Focus on these top 15 that we've talked about and get your content on them.